Hi everyone, my name is Nondwe Kali. On the 3rd of December 2021, I participated on the hashtag Make Education Fashionable initiative by Professor Pakang. Um, I surprisingly got a lot of engagement from Prof's followers on that day. They were really interested in my story. They wanted to find out more how I navigated university, having had passed grade 12 with school living. And in the years then, school living meant you just made it out of high school, right? So it was just the lowest grade for you to exit high school. So I tried my level best to engage on that day. However, I got a bit overwhelmed, so I left that conversation hanging. 2 years later, I feel compelled to respond to those questions, right? Because and also over the past 2 years, I was entrusted to manage a scholarship program for rural high school kids by my older sister. And five of those young bright minds have completed their grade 12 and are pursuing their tertiary education next year. So I saw it fit to come back and have this conversation. So I'm just going to give a brief background of how I completed grade 12 with a school living and later on being awarded the Fulbright scholarship. So I am from Enqamakwe. Home is Enqamakwe, KwaGubevu. My mom was an educator and my father a magistrate. I'm number six of seven girls. So my lower primary school grades, ndazifunda eNgqothurha, eNgcobo, eMankihlane, eDutwa, and KwaGubevu eNqamakwe. And then the higher grades in primary, we then mama sent us to boarding school for better, I guess, education experience. And then I completed my grade 12 at Kingsbridge High School in King Williamstown. um, I think this is where I want to, start really start with the story I shared on Twitter. Life happened in grade 12. I didn't perform well. And unfortunately for me, I had only applied to pursue a university degree. And so when the results came out in that December, and I had just barely passed, with school living, I was shattered. Lanjanela emini ilanga, right? Because I had only applied at a university to pursue a degree. So I remember that December, carrying a lot of shame and a lot of guilt and hopelessness. And Mama, of course, she was livid. I'm very disappointed, right? Because she had invested so much towards our education to ensure that, we secure a better future. And so she was just disappointed and frustrated with me. Um, and then the following January, okay, the following year in Jan, a cousin of mine was studying in Cape Town. So he asked me to come up and apply at his then university, because they used to allow walk-ins where students could come and write an assessment to assess if they would qualify to pursue a degree at that university. So, oh my God, we went to town at Dudra and I got on the DMJ bus to Cape Town. Managed to write the assessment at that university, and actually, surprisingly, I did well, and I was accepted to pursue a degree that side. So the disadvantage of being a walk-in, sometimes is you then accept whatever course is available for you to pursue that year. So whilst I was waiting for confirmation of a course to pursue or the degree that was available at that time, there were glitches at the admin office, and they were just struggling to locate where my acceptance was, in which department it was in. And so I spent a good 3 days at that university trying to get assistance and without any success. So I remember sitting in the SRC offices and, begging the SRC president to intervene. And Shem, he tried his level best, but he just couldn't assist. And then a call came in from my sister that at Nelson Mandela University has offered me a place to study, but in their bridging course. And also on one condition that I played for their under 19 netball team. So I played provincial netball in high school. So I guess I know that was a good trade off. I took the deal and I then went to Nelson Mandela University. I managed to register and secure a place in res. As much as I was grateful to be at university, to be pursuing a university program, I was still carrying that shame. I was still carrying that guilt, that I didn't do well in matric. I didn't perform well in matric. And also my former classmates from high school were at the university and they were all pursuing their first year in become accounting, in law. So I was just carrying a lot of shame, in the beginning, and also just embarrassed that I'm in a bridging course for a BA degree. However, I also, though, appreciated the second chance, and then decided to focus on that. So I put in all my focus on my studies and performed very well in the bridging course. I was actually awarded with the top humanities student award um, in that year. And I am so grateful for that program, and I hope that universities still have those options for students. That program was very empowering. There was never a moment where we felt incompetent or felt that we didn't belong at a tertiary education institution, right? Because of how poorly we had performed in grade 12. So I'm really grateful for that program at the Nelson Mandela University. So I was accepted, of course, the following year to pursue my degree in social work. I continued excelling in my first year. And then in my second year, I remember on a random day, I got called in by Professor Mashaloko Kuse to her office. Those who know Professor Mashaloko Kuse, and may she rest in peace, may she continue to rest in peace. We are forever, grateful for her contribution. But anyways, back to the story. So those who know Professor Mashaloko Kuse, you didn't want to be called into her office, right? So when she called me into her office, I was stressed. I was freaking out because I was just, curious as to what was going on. She then lets me know that she was quite impressed with my academic performance and enjoys how I engage, the theory in class and how I apply myself in my assessments. And she then informed me about, the Fulbright scholarship opportunity that I could apply for once I graduate my honors. And I was like, no, Prof, I think you called the wrong person. I barely made it out of my trick. And I got through uni via, a bridging course. I am just trying to get my degree and get a job and, continue with my life. So I'm like, I did not have such aspirations, right? Because I didn't know much about postgrad. I didn't know anything about scholarships, of course, So for me, I just couldn't relate with that vision at that time. So I left her office. I continued with my life. Of course, I continued to perform well at university academically, of course, and I was in the Dean's List. I received merit awards, and I was in the Golden Key Society. So I really continued to perform well. And then I graduated top of my class. And I think, I had I was slowly healing also from the shame of, the poor performance in grade 12 and feeling a bit confident. So then I went back to Prof and I said to her, listen, let's talk about that opportunity, right? And then she was elated, of course, that I was considering the application. She then helped me access the link via the U.S. Embassy. I applied, and she helped me, of course, with references. And yeah, so the journey began. I was shortlisted for interviews. Thereafter, I was required then to write some essays, apply to universities, and write all the English tests. Like, listen, that was a very lengthy process. The application process was very lengthy, but it was also educational and empowering and very exciting at the same time. And then in April of 2010, I'll never forget that day. I received a call from Mr. Chabedi at the US Embassy, and he was like, congratulations, you have been accepted at the Washington University in St. Louis to pursue your master's in social work, fully funded by the Fulbright Scholarship Program. Oh, that was a beautiful moment. That remains the best day of my life. I've had a beautiful life, but that day remains a highlight. Getting that phone call from the Fulbright Scholarship Program remains the highlight of my life. I remember how I felt. I still do. I still remember how I felt. And for me, that the Fulbright Scholarship opportunity was not just about the opportunity, but also how then the journey became healing for me, right? Because I was carrying that shame for years of just not performing well in grade 12, and I struggled to forgive myself, even though I was performing well at university and getting all these awards, but the shame was still there. You know, I still remember how disappointed my mother was. I still remember the frustration in her voice, and so this opportunity for me really changed a lot. It restored so much hope in me. It restored my confidence. It just revived that zeal for life. And so then, August of that year, I packed my two suitcases and I left for the US. A month in, I fell ill and I had to come back home. That is a story for another day. So I had to defer my studies for another year. And then in 2011, I went back to the US, and I had an amazing time. Being a Fulbright scholar is such an honor. Just the cultural experience, and being in the best universities in the US, fully funded and being fully supported, by that program. So really had an amazing time. Of course, I will share more about that later, in maybe later conversations. So just before I came back from the US, I then made a prayer, to God that I wanted to serve or work in the scholarship industry, right? I wanted to work in the space that supported young people, supported students as they pursue their tertiary education. And fortunately, when I came back, I then I secured employment with one of the top scholarship foundations in the country, and thereafter also went to manage an employment trust for one of the top law firms. They were offering scholarships to Black law students. So working in such environments really was an honor that just a few years back, I barely made it out of grade 12, and now I am entrusted with the academic success and personal leadership of SA's young bright minds. So I really believe in education. I think education is a big deal. I think education is fashionable. For me, is unolali. I saw the impact, the positive impact of education in my life, and I'm grateful for it. And hence, I felt compelled to make this video and share this story, especially that, I manage a rural scholarship program, that empowers, young people and help them as they pursue their education or their academic journeys. So I felt compelled to share the story. So I am opening this platform, I'm opening this space for anyone that wants to share their academic journeys or their tertiary, journeys with the young people, just to be a point of reference, right? Because I believe that your story is a point of reference for someone. So this is a call that if you would love to share your journey, I live in Johannesburg. Let's meet and see what we can do to just instill hope to the young ones and to normalize some of their feelings or even their journeys as they're pursuing their academic studies. And I would also like to thank Prof. Pakeng for this initiative. You might think that you're doing this just to inspire others, but it also heals. Reflecting for some of us is equally healing. So thank you so much. We hope, that you will continue this initiative and that will also play a role in just promoting education. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them on the comment section. Alternatively, send me an email. I will leave my email address. And thank you so much for showing interest in my story. And thank you so much. I hope to hear from some of you soon. Thank you so much.